So following on from Jesus' ascent up the mountain to the wilderness from the previous window, we now have in the centre Jesus sitting at the top of a mountain in a sort of meditative pose, just completely in isolation, just him and the mountain and the heavens above. And there's fascinating there's fascinating symbolism in the whole of this. It's much more symbolic than I think the others that we've looked at. The writing at the top from the Benedicite is about lightning and about clouds. So the painter has woven those in as well. And above Jesus, in that central one, we've got pink and purple sky and lightning behind there. But the whole, the three sections, are representing Jesus' choices between lower and higher religious aims, according to the book. On the one hand, the compromise which would lead to earthly honour is illustrated, that's in the left, by the powers of church and state offering allegiance. On the other, the refusal of this, which leads to loneliness and rejection. And that's illustrated on the right-hand side by the figure of Jesus lying down, which echoes that passage of scripture which talks about the Son of Man having nowhere to lay his head. And he's on the ground far, far away from the walled city. So mountains and hills are really prominent here. But it's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. And it's kind of got a sense of it being also a cosmic conflict. I think of some of those sort of theological themes of Christus Victor, the sort of, Christ as the one who's overcoming the principalities and the powers, and they are represented in this middle incredible sky, which is actually it's very pink, and pinks and mauves and purples, and on one side there's a figure holding a crown, like being an evil spirit, sort of staring down at Jesus. And then on the other side, on the right-hand side of the lightning, is another figure staring down at Jesus. And this figure is also crowned, but it's very obviously, this is a figure wearing a crown of thorns, holding a cross and a chalice and a scroll. So there's perhaps even an echo of Gethsemane, and the way in which artists sometimes portray Jesus looking and seeing angels holding out to him the instruments of the Passion. And again, that being a moment where Jesus has to make a choice. The temptation is, Father, take this away from me. So again, we get this incredible sense of lots of things being held together in the one set of images.
Yeah, the chalice resonates with the small picture above the balcony with the representation of the New Testament with the chalice there.
Absolutely.
And the scroll, presumably of fulfillment of scripture.
Yeah. And in the background you've got perhaps cities, but also temples. So you've got a sense of Jesus in the wilderness, in the midst of an empty space.
I think the scripture that really comes to mind is the devil obviously presents these different temptations, but the one that resonates most with this picture, I think, is this. So I'm reading from Luke chapter 4, verse 5. Then the devil led him up and showed him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. And the devil said to him, "To you I will give their glory and all this authority, for it has been given over to me, and I give it to anyone I please. If you then will worship me, it will all be yours." So it's sort of continuing this theme of worship that we see in all of the stained glass windows. Jesus answered him, "It is written, worship the Lord your God and serve only him." I think it's fascinating that actually Jesus' pose is like he's enthroned, isn't it? He's in this sedentary pose, as if he's on a throne, but he's actually on the mountaintop.
Yes, no, that's very true.
And then combined with that left panel where it's a more typical enthronement scene, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes, and being offered a crown.
Yeah, and this contrast of power and authority.
Yes, and stillness. and peace.
Yeah, there's the contrast between the left panel and the central panel is really striking, isn't it? The left panel is very busy.
Yes.
And quite powerful colours there, the reds as well.
Yeah. Yes, and in a sense, as you move through, Jesus, in some ways, oblivious to, so a sense of turning his back on things. He's looking out at us, and it's always behind him.
Yes.
That these things are.
That are happening. And then the right-hand panel is quite odd, actually. I mean, it does have kind of echoes of Gethsemane a little bit, doesn't it? Of desolation.
Yes.
But being far removed again from the city, outside of the city walls.
And the staff that Jesus is kind of, as he sleeps,
yes,
he's
holding the cross.
It's a cross.